Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. So in today's video I do have a bit of a special build in terms of my money builds and methods. This time with the 787B, the absolute legend car which has been old reliable in terms of all the updates. It's always survived in some kind of 800 pp form. However, with update 1.31 it's had a massive buff and it's better than it ever was. So let's get into this build, as this car isn't just a fuel saving machine anymore, it's also very quick. So I do want to give a shout out to the livery creator for this video, Chris75, with this awesome Mazda 787B livery. I've used this one for many months and I do want to give credit where it is due. So a massive thank you and a big shout out to him. So let's get into the build itself. You're going to be running racing mediums yet again for this build, and then we'll go on to the body height adjustment, which is 55 at the front and 85 at the rear. I do want to give a big shout out to Priano, I believe his name is, for his suspension setup. I tweaked it slightly to more to my preference, but overall his suspension setup is far better than any I could get going for this car. So anti-roll bar is 5 at the front and 7 at the rear, with the compression being 27-35, expansion is 35 and 45. Natural frequency is 390 at the front and 475 at the rear. Camber angle is 2 at the front and 2.5 at the rear. And then the toe angle is 0.05 outwards at the front and 0.15 inwards at the rear. Differential is 2150, and then down at the bottom we have the braking sensitivity set to 10. Fully customizable manual transmission set to 360, and then we have the ballast set to 24 with a positioning of -50. No power restriction on this build. The front downforce is 500 and 1600 at the rear. We have the high RPM turbocharger strapped to this car, and then as you can see, that is literally it. A super simple build. So in terms of the event we're going to use, we're going to head over into Europe, and then you just want to go down to the bottom yet again and go to Sardinia Road Track and the World Touring Car 800. Yet again, this is a very usable Spa build and certainly better than the other two, just for its fuel consumption. So overall, this car is very well known as one of the better cars for Sardinia. It really has always been that way. Its fantastic fuel consumption and tyre life puts it right up there at the top. However, as of update 1.31, it's not just a fuel saving machine anymore, it's very potent, meaning that on average the lap times are a good few seconds faster than it was prior to update 1.31. I don't know what it is with these Group C machines. This whole nerfing patch just kind of had the opposite effect on these cars. They are absolutely fantastic. You can squeeze every bit of performance out of them and keep them in the 800 pp range, meaning that you can grind Spa and you can grind Sardinia very easily with this car. And this is certainly the standout of the three in my opinion, mainly because of that amazing fuel consumption and tyre life. This is a fantastic overall car and I recommend you grabbing it as soon as you possibly can. Now let's get into the strategy. A very simple and easy strategy with this car. Now since we're using the mediums, we are going to be forced to pit at least once. However, with that we can then couple maximum power output. This car is insanely good on fuel, which most of us should realistically know about by now, but if you don't, the rotary engine powered cars in this game are fantastic on fuel consumption, meaning you can run them with maximum output and not really have to worry about pitting too many times. You can go for the no-stop method of running racing hards and basically putting it a leaner fuel mode. However, I don't recommend that. It just takes away from the overall feeling of this car. It's certainly built for speed, and that's the way you want to run it. You don't want to be just crawling around anymore, saving fuel and just taking advantage of the fuel consumption. Realistically, you want to be absolutely throwing this thing through the corners, going as fast as you can, and on average you should be hitting anywhere from a 1:30 to a 1:33 in terms of your lap time, very much dependent on either how you take to the car or just your overall driver skill. Now I'm running this on controller, so naturally I'm a few seconds slower on my average lap time. However, it is still very usable on controller, so don't worry about that. Don't think you're going to have to buy a very expensive wheel to be able to run good lap times with this car. It's just not true. You can run very, very decent lap times and respectable lap times by using a controller, and that's kind of what I want to point out. A lot of people just assume that you need a wheel to be absolutely smashing those lap times down, and whilst on average you will be quicker on a wheel, you can still very much use pretty much all of these money methods whilst running on a controller, and some of them are just overall better on a controller. So in terms of taking the lead, you're going to do this pretty early into lap 1. The 1 lap performance of this car is fantastic, and once you've cleared the leader, well, you're not going to have to worry about the AI for a few laps at least. Your one and only pit stop realistically wants to come at the end of lap 7. If you need to short shift in that to get yourself around the 7th lap, then feel free to do so. It just means that you'll be, losing a few seconds on that final in lap. Here you want to take a brand new set of mediums. As you can see, they are beginning to wear, but in all honesty I didn't really feel a thing in terms of the tyre wear. The drop off is really kind of not there until the tyres are completely gone on the 787B. At that point, you also want to take a full tank of fuel and essentially just rinse and repeat. This will get you pretty much all the way to the end. Now, this definitely wasn't a perfect run for me. I was a bit aggressive on the early kind of out laps. When you do leave the pits, you do want to have a quick check behind you because the AI will come absolutely barreling down there, and they are not afraid to absolutely wipe you out if you're kind of in the way of them, I guess. Now, one thing you do want to be careful of is traffic. Just be as smooth as possible when it comes to overtaking them. Hitting them is a big no-no and will absolutely destroy your lap times. Once I got to lap 12, I actually turned the car down a little bit. This is because I was noticing that after my very aggressive early, out laps after a pit stop, I was just using a little bit too much fuel. So you can turn it down if you need to. And as you can see, I was still far too aggressive at the end, running out of fuel just before the final corner. So it is going to add to my overall lap time. However, if you manage your fuel and don't be as aggressive as me, you will quite easily make it to the end. So we did finally get done with our final lap being nearly 2 minutes, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's my own fault at the end of the day, so just be a bit extra careful on the fuel. And even on a terrible run like that, where we added at least another 30 seconds onto the final lap, we did it in 24 minutes 14.531, which means realistically you should be aiming to be in the 23-minute barrier rather quite easily. Our fastest lap came on lap 3, which was a 1 minute 31.734, meaning this car, mixed with its fuel consumption, also has very good 1-lap pace, and in my opinion this makes it the standout Group C that has received a buff. Now, in terms of your payout, you're talking 727,500 credits for around about 23 minutes of your time, which is very, very respectable at Sardinia. And overall, it shouldn't take you long to really, boost up those credits, meaning that you're looking at around about 3 runs in about an hour and 10 minutes. So do the math on that one and you'll figure out what you're earning in just over an hour. It's very, very easy and straightforward. So there we have it for the Mazda 787B build. In all honesty, this is certainly one of my favourites to come out of update 1.31, and I fully recommend everybody building this car as soon as possible. It's fantastic fuel consumption, it's fantastic 1-lap pace, just makes it an absolute standout. And if I had to compare it to anything, I'd certainly say this is more akin to the Suzuki Escudo 800 prior to update 1.31. It feels fantastic. Prano's suspension setups just absolutely work with this car, so again, a big shout out to him. Absolutely love the feel of just the way it drives in general, and it's very, very quick in a straight line, easily hitting over 200 miles per hour. And yes, you can run it at Spa, so again, all these Group C builds can transfer over to there, so feel free to go and grind with them at Spa if that is your preference. So I am away this weekend. I do apologise if I can't get in the comments and kind of help you out if any kind of PP is missing or you're a little bit over. Please try and work together to try and solve each other's problems until I'm back. I won't be around until around about Tuesday, so I do apologise for that. Apart from that, have a fantastic day and have a wonderful weekend. I hope you just have a fantastic time. Peace, guys.